Hello there, lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here. Now, if you've got one of these little switchy suckers right here, you may well want to keep that thing as secure and as safe and as comfortable as you can possibly do so, even when taking it out and about. So how are you going to do that? Well, if the title has given anything away, then you will know that the very lovely people over at WaterField Design have sent us 3 fantastic switch cases that they make, and they are lovely to say the least. We're going to have a look at them now for you. First of all, we're going to start off with what is really the most basic model, and that is this, and it is just called the pouch for Nintendo Switch. Kaanchi. This thing's made of a sort of a canvasy material, but you can get it in leather as well, although that is a little bit more expensive, unsurprisingly. And the basic construction is you've got this little zip pocket at the front for accessories and things like that. If you want to put accessories and things like that in there, you've not got a huge amount of room, but enough for a cable or something like that. And then, of course, you've got this big zip on the top that goes all the way around, and that is where you put your Nintendo Switch. And the fact that it goes all the way around down here, I think is a really nice touch, because it makes it really easy to get in and out. So let's slide this sucker in and see how well it does that. Now, I have tested this, and I can tell you that although it's basic, this does actually a really nice job of keeping the Switch secure. I wouldn't maybe sort of carry it around and swing it around in this case, because it is still fairly sort of flexible, but even so, you know, it does a good job, and it will definitely prevent any sort of nasty scratches or anything like that. And also the zips appear to be either just sort of angled, they snap down. I don't know if they're magnetized or what. Also, don't worry, magnets aren't going to hurt your Switch, because it's 2017. The inside lining is this gorgeous, ultra soft material. I don't even know what you'd call it, but it is absolutely wonderful, and it polishes the screen when it's in there. I haven't cleaned my Switch screen in quite some time, because it just doesn't need it. I've been keeping it in this thing, and it's been fine, because I've been testing this thing, which is why it's been in it and not in the next one. Yes, although that is a very nice case, it pales in comparison to the CitySlicker. Now, this really is sort of like the kingpin of cases, if you like. And there's a thing in here that I forgot to take out, so I'm just going to slide that over there slightly. You didn't see a thing. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, that is one chunky monkey, and you'd be right, but the Switch is a big console. It in fact is almost exactly the same as the original CitySlicker for the 3DS, and it's the only difference is, well, I'm about to tell you what those differences are. Obviously, first of all, it's designed for the Nintendo Switch. The little flap on the top no longer has poppers, and instead has nice magnets, neodymium rare earth magnets, I believe that they're called. And then inside, I know you won't be able to see this very clearly, so I'll do some nice close-up shots. You have got this red pad in here, which I thought was removable, but it isn't, and to be honest, you don't want to remove it. And that is a sort of microfiber cloth. And so when you put the Switch in, that goes against the screen and keeps it nice and secure. It also gives it a nice little bit of room so that the sticks aren't being pressed against constantly, which is a nice touch. And then behind the Switch, you've got this little pocket here. Now, this pocket looks like it can't be used to hold much, but there's one thing it does hold, and oh my goodness gravy, does it do it well. You know this stand, the official hoary stand for the Nintendo Switch that allows you to actually play and charge at the same time in tabletop mode? Who'da thunk it? That slips in there just ever so beautifully. It helps if you actually look when you're putting it in, but that slips in there superbly, and it's a little bit harder to get the lid closed once you've done that, but it's still perfectly doable, and it doesn't put any strain on the Switch itself, although it might actually help if I was looking at what I was doing. That just goes on like that, slips on there, slips on there, and that is real armor for your Switch. If you hear any rattling, don't worry, that's just the stand. It always rattles no matter what you do. You probably heard a bit of it when I got it out there. And you've also got this nice little pocket on the back here, which again, cables, maybe games or something like that. But you won't want to put your games in there. You'll want to put your games in these little pockets in the front here. These are specifically designed. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and they'll hold your games nice and snug, nice and secure. They do the job brilliantly. I don't know what else to say. One last feature I want to mention, you see this, I can never remember what these are called, like carabiners or something, these sort of clippy, metal-y things. It came with one of these. I do believe this is an additional extra, but you know, sort of if you just wanted to, or you had some lying around, you could just use one of them, I'm sure, because they're fairly universal, and it goes on one of these little tags at the side. There's one each side, so even if you wanted to get a sort of a strap and put that on, You could do that if you like, if that's your cup of tea. Oh, and one last thing before I go. When it comes to taking the switch out, you see that? You've got this little hook, this little loop down here. I don't know whether I can get that in shot. It's time for another close-up, isn't it? So by just sliding a finger in this little loop here, you can actually have a nice, secure way to pull your switch out. Now that sounds really, really pointless, but honestly it helps tremendously because the switch is nice and snug in there and you don't really want to be sort of squeezing the sides of the case or anything like that. You want to be able to get the switch out and you want to be able to get it out smoothly, and it does just that. Final thing about the CitySlicker, leather on top. It smells fantastic. But what on earth could be even more premium than that lovely leather thing we just saw? Well, it's gigantic. This is the Multiplayer Pro case. Now this really is, I mean, if the previous one was a chunky monkey, this is a bigger gorilla. That doesn't make any sense. I'll think of a better one. I can't think of anything. But yes, this is designed to ship a lot more than just your Nintendo Switch, as you can probably imagine. Now we open this at the top and the zips go all the way down the side, which is a really nice touch. So we get that down there. And so you open it up and it is just, you can open it flat like that. So you don't have to sort of stick your hand down and rummage around. You can see everything nice and clearly, and it's all spread out over the two sides. Most importantly, at the top here, this is where your Nintendo Switch goes. Now, I have to say, the Switch is very loose in here. It's a real shame. It sort of rattles around. Even when you do it up, it doesn't seem to do it any favors. And the Switch just sort of seems to move a lot back and forth. And I really, really don't feel comfortable doing that. So I didn't, basically. So instead, what I think you're going to want to do if you do want to get this case is you're going to need to get another case as well. I know that sounds mad, but honestly, any case will do. I tried numerous cases. The only thing that doesn't fit in there is the CitySlicker. It's just too big. But the pouch that I first looked at, that fit in there beautifully. But if you don't want to go for WaterField, if you want to save a few pennies, you can go with any other Nintendo Switch case. This is just a Power A, officially licensed one. This one fits in here nice and snugly like that, and it really does fit absolutely perfectly. And the same goes for, where's it gone? This Venom one that I've got here, which I looked at previously, again, same form factor, fits in like a dream. So if you've got a case like that, you don't need to invest in something else. But honestly, I wouldn't put your Switch in here as it is. It needs another case. Wanted to get that out of the way first because it's important. There's also another thing this thing comes with. On the other side, you've got this little thing here, and it goes a little something like this. This is a leather. Again, smells wonderful. Maybe not as nice as the CitySlicker, but really that is just... This works. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you very briefly. It works, but the thing that I find with it is that the game cartridges are just a little bit too snug. I don't know whether maybe it wasn't tested with actual Switch cartridges, but I think the Switch cartridges are just a little bit too thick. I mean, they go in, but they feel very tight. So, I mean, it works, and if you're careful, you shouldn't have any issues with it, but it is still very tight, and it can sort of catch on the end there. So just do be aware of that. It works, and it's good, but just be aware. As for the rest of it, well, you've got another little mesh pocket up here next to the game card holder. You've got massive, great big pockets down here. You can't really see them very well, but this can hold your dock, this can hold a Pro controller, you can hold loads in there, and it's got these little Velcro things that are actually used to make temporary dividers, and you can move them around. So if you want to hold a lot of long, thin things, you can. And on the other side, underneath the Switch pocket, you've got two fairly equally sized other pockets, just mesh pockets. They don't move out too much, but then again, it's a fairly thin bag all told. And also, on the outside, you've got two more pockets in there, so you can seriously get an incredible amount of stuff in here. In fact, I'm just gonna, you know, I will tell you what I managed to fit in this case. It was bonkers. Also, one last thing, don't know whether you noticed, but there's a strap. Like that, it's a shoulder strap. I discovered this literally yesterday. I've been walking around with this thing, holding it by the handles, which are nice and comfy, you know, they're perfectly good handles. But if I'd known about this, I would have worn that. It was just stuffed in a side pocket, I just didn't know it was there. I'm an idiot. I have to say, when it comes to transporting Switch stuff, and you want to transport a lot of Switch stuff, for example, I used this the other day to go to a friend's house where he was having a bit of a party, bit of a get-together, so I made sure everyone washed their hands before touching the Switch, but took it there via this thing, and I took everything I needed and still had bags of space left over, if you'll pardon the pun. So there you have it, 3 fantastic cases for the Nintendo Switch. My personal preference for just taking it out and about, you know, going on a train or going to an event in London or something like that, is definitely going to be the CitySlicker, because it gives you nice armor. It's fairly compact, but not too compact. It definitely goes for function over form, and overall, it still manages to look absolutely fantastic, looks the business, holds the Switch super securely, nothing's gonna happen in there. Overall, it's kind of like the best of everything. It sort of condenses everything down to a decent form factor whilst giving utmost protection. However, if you want to go for something a little bit more basic, or maybe a little bit more sort of budget if you like, then this will do you fine as well. I would be a little bit more careful with this than I ever would be with the CitySlicker, but you know, this still does the job and it does it well. And finally, the Multiplayer Pro case. If you're taking it to a friend's house and you need all the dock, and you need a battery, and you need a stand, and you need controllers, this is gonna do you so proud. It is so useful. It's like a little TARDIS. It gets everything inside it, and it's fantastic. The build quality is undeniably wonderful. It's the same with all the cases. However, I would not use this if I was just taking it out and about, because it's a little bit overkill. So if you're not really sort of taking it to parties and things like that, you may not need this. But if you are, this is marvellous. Absolute giganto thanks go to WaterField Design at sfbags.com for sending these puppies over, especially the CitySlicker. Oh, my baby. If you want to pick up any of these cases, then you can check the link in the description. We'll have them individually listed just for the sake of ease, so you don't have to go searching, and save you a click. That's how considerate we are. I'm sorry, I can't go without saying that this, in my opinion, if you've got the money, this is the best Switch case money can buy. Right now, there's nothing that even comes close. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you create a beautiful, robust, handmade case for that subscribe button, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. So what kind of case could be even more premium than the thing we've just seen? Well, let's start that again.